But anyways, Xampp is this wonderful little purple logo you see down here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly uninstall mine and we'll install it together. I'll show you how to transfer Xampp stuff over to Xampp. It's not super difficult. And then uninstalling Xampp is really simple. We literally just delete it. We just delete the C directory for it. There's no uninstaller for it. It's super fast, super easy. So we'll go through that now. What we'll do first is go to our File Explorer, copy the files that we have in Xampp out and to our desktop so that we don't lose them. And then we'll transfer those files over from the desktop over to the Xampp installation. So give me 2 seconds just because I know you're not going to know where to go. I don't have Xampp on here. Come on. Thank you. Just make sure I can remember how to access everything. All right, give me 1 second just to install Xampp so you guys can see what I'm seeing. Actually, you know what? It's probably just way easier if I just create the stupid directories. All right, Control-Shift then. I do have a Windows machine at home. It's just I don't generally use it much more than for I use it for video games. Basically, that's about it. Give me 1 second to uninstall my Xampp so you can see how it's done. You can tell this is a fresh install when you only have like 6 files in the whole panel for applications. Don't follow along, just wait, please. Cool. We're at the same state right now. I look like you, okay? So let's see what we're going to do first. We're going to first copy the files over from Xampp to our desktop, so that way we have them backed up, okay? We don't need all of the files. We don't need the dashboards and all that crap. All we need is the stuff that's under the htdocs, just the COMP-1006 folder. That's literally it. That's the only folder you need. So what I would like you to do, open up your File Explorer, which looks like this, right, or thereabouts. Okay. Over on the side here, if these are open, it can be a little tricky to kind of see where to go. Yours might look like that, which is a little difficult to see. So you'll notice that there's these little arrows on the left-hand side that allow you to collapse them. What we want is this PC, is what we want. This PC will actually show us our hard drives that are connected. I don't actually have this many hard drives, just some of them show up as virtual because it's picking them up from the Mac operating system. The only hard drive we care about is this guy right here, the local disk C. That's the one we actually care about. That's where Xampp is installed. So double click on that drive, and that will open it. And then when you're in the drive, you should see Xampp, the folder, at the very bottom. If you don't, you likely installed Xampp in a different location. Now, I know some people may have installed it in program files, or they may have installed it somewhere else. Hopefully, you know where you installed it. Going to find it will be a little tricky. But it's not that bad. Just find where you installed it. Open the directory. There's going to be a whole bunch of directories in there, right? A whole bunch of file folders. The one you want is called htdocs. Is there a way to make this bigger? There we go. That's cool. There, the magnifier. You want htdocs. Open up htdocs, and in that folder is our COMP-1006 folder that we created. Yours might not look exactly the same. Yours might have lowercase letters or something like that. Some people didn't call it COMP-1006. I'm not sure what happened there. Some people call it webprog and stuff like that. Doesn't matter. You just want the directory that you created. Click on it once. Don't double click it. We're not going into it. Click on it once. and either hit Control-C or right-click on it and choose Copy. Okay? Just make sure you've copied it. Once you've done that, you can minimize this folder by clicking the little minus sign, so you're on the desktop here. And then either right-click and choose Paste, or hit Control-V. And that'll paste the COMP-1006 folder to your desktop. So that'll keep all of the files that we worked on last week, all your lesson files. The good news is PHP is PHP is PHP. So it doesn't really matter what server we use to deliver it, it's all the same. So getting rid of Xamp's not going to cause us any issues. Now what I'd like you to do is go back into that folder you collapsed. And we're going to navigate back up to the C directory so that we can see the original old Xampp folder here. Then what you're going to do is click on that Xampp folder, not once, sorry. Click on it, and then you're going to delete it. Whoops, hold on. My delete button works a little differently than yours. And I absolutely have no idea what delete would be. If you can't find it, you can always just right-click and click on delete. And that will work too. And now the folder is gone. So that has now gotten rid of Xampp for us, right? If it comes up and says, hey, cannot delete this currently in use, then it's likely you have Xampp running. And the way you would know is if you click in this bottom little arrow spot, you'll see the little orange X. If it's running, click on it and tell it to quit, and then go delete that folder. Anybody have an issue with that? No? All good? Okay. Just out of curiosity, how many of you are already running XAMPP? Quite a few of you? Okay. So those of you that are not, you're going to have to pay attention. The other issue that I found last week was a bunch of you had installed MySQL as a service. Not that it's an issue, because props to you. That's the hard way to do it. So props to you for doing it. The only problem is XAMPP and MySQL as a service are going to create a conflict. You guys all took networking, right? You remember learning about ports, right? So ports are a way we communicate out back and forth between the internet or back and forth between computers. When we use MySQL is a server, so almost like its own little computer, right? And it needs a port to be able to communicate on. If XAMPP is currently occupying that port and MySQL as a service is occupying that port, we wind up with a port conflict, and it means that one of them will not be able to connect appropriately, which means you'll have some issues. So the easiest way to deal with that is to have either XAMPP or MySQL as a service. The problem is you need XAMPP because you need the Apache server and you need the PHP binary. So what we will do is I will show you how to shut off MySQL as a service. Only those of you that need to pay attention will actually see the service in your services. And it is titled, just so you can see, MySQL 80, I think it's .svc or something like that. There's some other extension there. And we find it when you click on your Cortana, this little white bar down here, it's your search bar, right? Click in there, type in the word service, and it will say Services App. Click on Services App to open it up, and you'll get this very scary looking thing. And you should be slightly frightened of it. I don't recommend going in there and deleting or stopping things that you don't understand that they are, because they're services that run in Microsoft that help Windows operate and function properly. So don't go shutting things off unless I tell you to shut it off. All right. Scroll through the giant list, and I mean it's a giant list, till you get to the letter M as in Michael. Now, I don't have Microsoft as a service, or sorry, MySQL as a service. So you'll notice it's not in my list, right? But I'll show you with another one. Find MySQL 80. Okay. Just out of curiosity, how many of you found it in your services list? None of you? Cool. Let's close that and never come back to it again. Awesome. Let's go install WAMP. The other issue we may have, and I'm hoping it's not an issue, that's why I friggin' hate Windows. There's a package we need called VCREDIST, I think it's called. So it's like VC redistributable. What it is it's your, it's all of the visual basic files that are needed in order to run some of the most basic stuff inside your system. The way you'll know you're missing it is when we install WAMP and go to execute it, it's going to say, hey, you're missing MCSVC, frig, I don't remember the other title, something.dll. I know there's 110 in there somewhere. It will say you're missing this file. It means that you're missing the VC redistributable. If that happens to you, don't click any buttons. Put your hand up, and I will come help you, okay? Because it takes a little bit to find what you need. But we'll find that out in a second. Right now, what I would like you to do is open up that COMP-1006 lesson plan thing. You can do that by going to Blackboard. Wow, this thing does not like running all of the things it's running. I can actually feel the heat from the computer through the keyboard. I've got ScreenFlow running, Mac running, and now Windows running. It's kind of a lot. Go ahead and log into your Blackboard. Sure. Breathe. All right. Are you guys 02 or 01? I never remember. 01? Okay. Click on Weekly Learning. And I think I put it in here. Well, double check. Open it up. And click on the Lesson 2 GitHub PHP Syntax and HTML Review link. And then that will take you to the lesson plan. I'm pretty sure I put the WAMP link in here. If I did, it's down a little further underneath all of this Git stuff that incidentally we won't be doing. No, it's not. All right, we're going to have to go to the Googles and look it up. Found it. All right, it's wampserver.com. So it's running out of board. You know what? Super lazy, don't feel like doing that. I'm just going to type it out for you. Oh, this is painful. What is that? How do you increase the font size inside your IDE? What's your shortcut keys? Control and then scroll. Oh, there we go. Cool. I need you to close. Awesome. So it's HTTPS, WAMP, server, I think. I'll just copy it. Copy and paste. Nope. There we go. Go away. Awesome. That's the address you need to go to. I'll give you a couple seconds to type that out and go to WAMP server, or you can go to Google and just type in WAMP. Follow the link. Works as well. While you're doing that, we were going to learn Git today. I did it last week on the Wednesday. Oh my God. It was, we spent an hour and a half trying to get working on people's machines. It's interesting because I didn't realize how many students wind up getting their computers from like Best Buy and stuff. I used to work for Best Buy years and years ago, and I remember that conversation. You'd come to me and you'd be like, yeah, I want a new computer. I'd be like, yeah, no worries, I'll get you a new computer. Hey, you know what you really need? You need setup. Anybody tells you that, you go, fuck that. I don't want your setup. Because those guys, what they did to some of these students' machines, they've locked them out. They don't have administrator access on their computers. You're in a programming course. You need administrator access at the very minimum on your computer. It really sucks that they didn't enable that for you. Anyways, it makes Git extremely hard to install and run Git commands when you don't have administrative access on your computer. So we'll scale that back and probably plan that for week 6 instead of now, which is totally fine because we're still doing kind of introductory things anyways. So that's fine. Cool. Everybody at WAMP server? Anybody not at WAMP server? Awesome. So click the little button that says Start using WAMP server. Comes to this page. There's a 32-bit version. Is anybody running Windows XP? No? Okay. So click on WAMP server 64-bit. When you click on there, you'll get this big disclaimer of a lot of stuff that you're not going to read. The only thing you need to do is click this download directly link. It's yellow. That's going to take you to SourceForge. Don't click anything, especially not the advertising that's going to try to take your credit card number. Just let it download, and we'll wait 5 minutes or whatever based on Georgian's speed. I got 2 minutes left. Do you guys have classes in the morning today too? Or just this class today? Wow, that sucks. I can't apologize enough. I work in the morning, unfortunately, so when they ask me what's your availability, I'm like 5 to whenever. They're like, cool, how about 7 o'clock? All right. Guess I'll work at 7 p.m. Again, just wait. Don't click things. Don't fill out forms. Don't do anything. Just wait till this thing's done. Cool, mine's done. Who's still waiting for it to download? A couple of you? All right, we'll just give you a couple more seconds before we click any buttons. There's a comfy chair over here if you want it. All right, still waiting? Just one? Okay. I just don't want to get ahead. We'll lose people, and then that causes, more strain on everybody. So hopefully, we'll be able to install WAMP server, and we won't have too many issues. Now, the first time we turn it on occasion it goes yellow. That's fine. We just tell it to restart, and then usually it will go green. If it doesn't, we're going to reboot our computers. If that doesn't fix it, then there might be more computer by computer issue. Which is good, because it's kind of a filler class anyways. Yeah.
I was having issues with it at first, but I found that if you stop it and then click on Start All Services, for some reason it works.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing's very finicky. Yeah. I installed it over the weekend on my Windows machine just to get it working so I could get a feel for it, because I use Xampp. Whenever I'm doing things, I try to find the thing that will literally cover the most amount of platforms, right? Xampp supports Mac, Windows, and Linux. WAMP supports Windows. That's it. Oh, is anybody using a Mac in here? Awesome. Because you get to use MAMP. But yeah. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and click the little button. If you've lost it because you've clicked the X over here and you don't know where it is, what you can do is click the folder, and on your left-hand side, you'll see Downloads, and it should be under the Downloads folder. If you don't find it, you're going to need to re-download it and pay attention to where it went. But yeah, so let's go ahead, execute the executable. You'll get this message that says, do you want to allow this app from unknown publishers to change your device? Sounds super threatening and scary, but it's not. Just click yes. Close your eyes if you're scared. And then select your language during the installation. I'm going to choose English. You can try one of the many. Oh, you get French. It's either English or French. Anybody in here speak French? Oh, neither do I. Okay, and then accept the agreement. I mean, unless you're really critical and you want to click I do not accept the agreement, but then you're stuck. You're on your own if you do that. Accept the agreement and click next. There's a bunch of stuff you're not going to read. Click next. The default directory it installs to is CWAMP64. Now, if you're one of the people who already had WAMP, and for some bizarre reason you're following along with me these steps when you already have WAMP, you're not going to be able to install into that directory. It's going to tell you it's already occupied. So do yourself a favor and click this cancel button because you already have WAMP. Okay? If you don't have WAMP, then continue on. Click next. This is the name of the folder it's going to create that will dump inside your start menu. Just leave it as the default. Click next. Tells you your preview of what's going to happen. Click install. And off it goes. And this surprisingly takes a heck of a long time to go through and extract and install, extract and install. There's a lot of files. And part of the reason why there's so many files is because it literally installs every PHP binary version from 5.6 up to 7.35, which is a lot of PHP binary versions. But that's good for you because there's some very big changes in PHP between 5 and 7. So if you're working for a company on your co-op, for example, and they use 5.6, you can still use the same WAMP installation. You don't need to uninstall it. You just use the same WAMP installation, you change your PHP version over to 5.6, and off you go. For now, you won't have to change anything. The one that is the default that it's going to set to is PHP 7.3.5. The big difference between it and 5.6 is you can do, it's like a Boolean selection where you can say use this, but if this doesn't exist, use this. That never existed before. And then the other thing is you get data types, which you didn't have before. So you can actually like force data types. But we'll explore that later on. All right, this wonderful thing. This says, do you want to use Internet Explorer as your default browser? You can say yes if you want. If you want to say no, it's a little trickier to hook up your new internet browser with it because you have to go find it. What I tend to do is just say yes because it doesn't do anything that I want anyways, and I'm not going to do on my own. This is no. Sorry, say no. Don't say the one I chose. Maybe I should read more than 3 words of the sentence. Notepad.exe. Do you want to choose another text editor? Well, of course I do, but do I want to go through that effort? No, I do not. Okay, that's an easier way to remember it. Bam, bam, bam. Install the service. All right, we get to do some more next, and finish. All right, now we're going to want to open up WAMP. Don't click the installer again. What I would recommend doing, highlight the installer in your downloads folder if you can, and delete it so that you don't accidentally install it again. All right. Let's go find WAMP. Let's click in Cortana. Oh, there's also a link on the desktop. We could just click that. Let's just click the link on the desktop. Notice how clean my desktop is? This is like the way I usually run. I don't like links on my desktop. It's going to ask me to make changes. You want to say yes. Don't click no. okay? Because otherwise things will not work properly. So click yes. It's going to open up a couple of command prompt windows. You're going to get this little link down here. It's going to go to orange, right? That means something's not running, is basically what that means. We're going to configure this so that little orange icon is something we can always see, and it doesn't hide itself under the arrow. You know how everything kind of hides under this arrow here, and you can't see it? Right-click on your taskbar, and at the bottom, there's Taskbar Settings. Click on Taskbar Settings. Opens up the wonderful little settings window. And if you scroll down a bit, you'll see select which icons appear on the taskbar under notification area. Okay? So I'll walk that again, just because people, I'm sure, weren't listening. Right-click, choose Taskbar Settings on the taskbar. That opens up this window. Scroll to where it says Notification Area, and then click on the Select Which Icons Appear on the Taskbar. It's going to show all the different taskbars that are there, and this one is currently going to be off. You want to turn it on. And it doesn't say WAMP, which is weird. It says Astan Tray Menu is what it says. Okay? So make sure you've got that on. Cool. Once you're done, just go ahead and click the X. There's no save or apply or anything like that. Quick question. Does anybody have a red W? Oh, this is just going awesome. All right. Let's see if we can get it to green. Click on the little W. When you click on the W, this little menu should show up. Okay? It's just one click. Don't double click, just one click. And click Restart All Services. The bottom option. It's going to go red, like that. Then it's going to go to orange. And then if we're lucky, it'll go green, which is the good sign. It's not a big deal because what I have found is MySQL runs and Apache runs, but FileZilla doesn't run, which is, I don't care. We don't need FileZilla. We're not going to FTP to our own machine. Yeah. The code execution cannot exceed. Yes, this is exactly what I was talking about. The MSVCR110 DLL file. So you, my friend, need the redistributable package. Let me do a Google search. Google VC redistro. No, let's just do it. It's MSVC. There it is. How to fix it.
If you just type in the DLL, it takes you right to the Microsoft link to download it.
Does it really?
And it fixes it immediately.
Nice. Let's try that.
Yeah, that top one.
The one that goes to www.dllfiles.com?
No, the Microsoft one. Sorry. Social, TechNet, Microsoft.
There we go. This one.
Nope.
Nope, that's for 8.0. We want the one for our version. Did I type it in wrong? I typed it in wrong. There we go, Microsoft Answers.
Yep, that's
All right.
the one.
This is what we want. We want the Visual C++ redistributable for Visual Studio 2012 update. So, scroll down a little bit. That's exactly it. Yeah. All right. Scroll down. We only need the top one, the 64-bit version. Next. It's going to download. Yeah, click it. Click, agree and install. Yes. And then once that's done, exit WAMP and read all. Did anybody else get that weird DLL error? Yeah? Okay, so what you're going to do in Google, type in msvcr110.dll. So you're going to type in this guy right here, okay? Which is so close. The only letter I was missing was an R. Okay, that's what you want. MS. Yeah, I did that wrong. It's MSVCR 110.dll. Type that into Google, hit enter, and you'll see if you scroll down just past this little block up here, you'll see the program can't start because MSVCR 110.dll is missing, and the URL that's under there is answers.microsoft.com. Click that link. It will take you to this. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the number one answer. There's a link right here. Click on that link, and it'll take you to this page. Or you can come up here and write down that URL, or I'll do one better. I'll open up Slack, and I'll throw it in the Slack channel. Don't read those. Those are people I work with who don't know appropriate nature. Oh, I don't even have the Slack channel on here. I haven't added it. I do have it on my phone, though. All right, so MSVCR. All right, and I'm going to post it in our general channel for now. Under the right group, though. I'm in the wrong group. I'll just post it in the general channel. Paste. There you go. There's a link in Slack if you have the Slack link. Otherwise, you can type that down. Once you've got it, you're going to click this download link here. You only need the top option, and you're going to click Next. It's going to tell you it's downloading, and you should see it download here on the bottom left-hand corner. Okay? Is anybody having an issue downloading it? All good? Nice. Click on the executable. I can't click install because I've already installed it. So you guys click install, click next, and keep clicking next till the thing is installed. Once it's installed, did you miss all that? Do you need help with something? Yes? All right. Is it something to do with WAMP? Yeah, restart. Yeah, restart. If it asks you to restart, restart. It's okay, I won't move along too quickly. The nice thing is today's class we're just doing PHP syntax because we're not doing the GitHub part. So we're just doing PHP syntax, and we're going to take a look at taking a form data and transferring it over to PHP. Next week, we're going to be getting into the meat and potatoes. We're going to start working on CRUD. We're going to do create, and read. So we're going to do the first three pieces that we need to do, which is show all of your records, show one of your records, and create a record. That's what we're going to do next week. So lots of fun stuff with MySQL next week. But we need WAMP working for any of this to work. So Anybody still waiting to restart or install or any of that? Yes? I saw her name on her name tag, but I don't know her name. How do you pronounce your name? Okay. Are you restarted? Okay. Once you get back and you're restarted, what you will notice is that Xampp isn't running. You'll look and it's not there. So you need to start it. So the easiest way to start it is just to click in your search bar, type in Xampp, and click on it to open it. It's always going to ask you this question. Always click yes. And it should go green. Cool. Does anybody not have a green Xampp symbol? One person. What color is it? I'm good with orange for now. It will probably be green the next time you run it. I bet you dimes to donuts that it'll be green the next time you run it. All right. We can go ahead and close all of these open things that we've got. We don't need the Xampp thing anymore. We just need our lesson plan and Blackboard. That's it. What time are we at? 7:40. Whew. All right. We installed IDEs last week. I'm going to need to increase the font size in this IDE. Yeah, definitely going to need to increase the font size, but I don't want to increase the whole IDE at the same time, so I'll have to fix something there. So why don't we take 10 minutes, get a drink, some water, some food, whatever it is. I will come help everybody who needs help, and then come back after 10 minutes, and I should have my VS Code up to par, and we should be able to start into learning PHP syntax. Okay? Cool. Thanks for being troopers too, by the way. 1 second, I'll be right with you. And we'll get started. So what do we need to run it? Well, we need Xampp, right? I closed my Xampp server, so I'm going to reopen my Xampp server. We need Xampp. Go green. Yay! All right, we need an IDE. IDE, Interactive Development Environment, Sublime, Atom, Brackets, Visual Code, whatever IDE it is you want to use. I don't recommend using NetBeans, kind of like a big, bulky, heavy, weighted IDE. If you become web developers, if any of you decide to go down that path, you will find Lean is much better. So operating in very thin IDEs like Visual Code or Sublime makes your life a lot easier. So go ahead and open up your IDE. So I'm using Visual Code, mostly because I like my theme, which is Synthwave. I think it's super cool. And just before we get into this, we have one step we actually forgot to do. Remember when we copied our file and we put it over? Well, we need to get that over into Xampp, right? So let's just jump back to our desktop where we have our folder that we had, right? Our COMP-1006 folder. And let's go ahead and copy that folder. So I'm going to right click, choose copy. Okay, and then once you've copied it, we're going to navigate into Xampp and we're going to paste it into Xampp. So follow what I'm doing. Open up your File Explorer and click on this PC. And we want to access our C drive. When you open that up, you'll see all the different folders. The folder we want is the Xampp 64 folder. So double click into that folder. And then you're going to see a bunch of confusing things. Don't worry about it. The only thing we need to access is this W folder that you see in there. Now, I think some of you are using Xampp, so your steps will be going into Xampp, and then htdocs will be where you need to go. Once you're in this folder, this is the folder that our server is going to deliver to, I'm going to use web in quotes, because we're not actually going to the public internet. We're going into our internal network, actually even more our internal network. Like you can't even access what I'm accessing, right? We're running it locally. That's what that's called. It's local development. We're doing local development because it's on our computer. But this is the folder that gets served for that. So we're going to paste our file in there. So right click and choose paste or Control V. And we're in week 2, so we're going to do lesson 2 this time. So once you've pasted that folder in, go ahead and double click so you're in it. And mine's going to look a little different than yours because I have 3 classes a week. So I have them all listed as an individual class. I've already taught the Wednesday's class. I'm going to create a new folder. So I right click and choose new folder. So right click, new folder. Or if you want to do it shorthand, you can do Control-Shift-N. That will create a folder as well. Call this folder Lesson 02. Okay, so lesson-02 with a capital L. I'm going to add a suffix to it. Don't add the same suffix, just so I know that it's you guys. Okay? You just leave yours off. Just call it lesson 2. Next, go into your IDE, the IDE that you're using, right? Your code editor. Go to File, Open Folder. Navigate to that directory. So on the left-hand side, you should see your C drive there. Go to Xampp64, www, COMP-1006. Yes?
So we're not using the files that you put on Blackboard?
We are.
Okay.
We're going to pull them down. 1 second. Now, one other option, so that you don't have to navigate to that folder every time, is to right-click on the folder, and you can choose to add it to the left-hand side. Unless I've got that wrong. Maybe you have to drag it over to the left-hand side. There's a way to add it to the left-hand side so you don't have to do this all the time. I think you can drag it and drop it. All right. I know there's a way to add it as a favorite. I just can't remember. Oh, it's under the quick access menu. That's what you need to do. Drag it into the quick access menu. And it will say pin to quick access, let go, and it drops it right there. Which makes it way easier than having to go to C, go to Xampp, go to WW, go to COMP-1006 every week. All right? So now it's at least on the left-hand side, and when I want to go there, I just click it, and I'm immediately there. So I'll walk you through that one more time. I go to Xampp 64 www, click on the COMP-1006, bring it up, come on, to the quick access menu, and I let go, and that pins it for me. If you have trouble with that, I can help you at the next break. It's not super important. All right, so I'm going to choose my COMP-1006 folder, and I'm going to click Select Folder, and that's going to open it up in my IDE. And now I can see all my files over here. I'm going to shrink this down a bit, close my welcome window. The only folder I care about right now is you guys, which is Lesson 02 Tuesday. For me, you guys are just calling it Lesson 2. Right now, if you click on it, it should be empty, right? Because we haven't put anything in it. I put up starter files for you. If you navigate to Blackboard, you'll see the Lesson 2 starter files. Click on the Lesson 2 starter files, and they're going to download to your default downloads directory, unless you've changed it. Go ahead and open up your downloads directory. It's easy to get to it if you just go to this PC or even the quick access. It's super easy to get there. You might have a few different files in your downloads directory. The one you want to find is the zip file called Lesson 02. We want to extract it. So if you double click it it will take you into the folder. That's not what you want. So just click back on download so you're back out of it. Instead, right click on it and choose to extract all. It's going to ask you to extract it to a location. So click the little browse button on the right. And we can just use that quick access option where we created the COMP-1006 file, right, to get there quickly. Otherwise, you have to go through the painful process of going to C, Xampp64, www, COMP-1006, and then click on your Lesson 2 folder. Once you're in the Lesson 2 folder, click Select Folder on the bottom. Okay. Do you need me to do that again, or good? You need me one more time? Okay. Right-click on Lesson 2, the zip file under your downloads. Do you have the zip file? You've already unzipped it? Where did you unzip it to? Right directly in the downloads folder? We do want to unzip it. Yeah. But it's in your downloads folder, right? So here's the issue. We have to make sure that those files, it's so super important that those files go under C, Xampp64, www, COMP-1006, Lesson 2. So those files you extracted, you need to copy and paste here. Just the files, not the folder. Yeah. For the rest of you, like I said, extract all, browse, click on the quick link so you can get there fast. Otherwise, C, Xampp, www, COMP-1006, Lesson 2. And then click Select Folder, and then when you're done, click Extract. And all those files will dump into that folder. Now, in that folder, you may have this Mac OS X folder. You can feel free to delete that folder. You don't need it because you don't own a Mac. Goodbye. It's the index folder. So Windows does this too, but you don't see it because it's usually hidden from you. But Mac does it as well. When you create folders and files, they get indexed, right? And then when you do searches on your operating system, it uses those index files to find those files. That's why they exist. Okay, we have our Lesson 2 folder. The only problem I have right now is I have a Lesson 2 folder, and then I have a Lesson 2 folder in my Lesson 2 folder. That's too many Lesson 2 folders. We need one less. So what I'm going to do is drill down, grab these files. I'm going to hit Control-C or right-click and choose to copy. Go up a directory and paste them. So now they're under the first Lesson 2 folder, not the second one. And then I'm just going to delete that other folder because I don't need it. So I have C, Xampp64, www, COMP-1006, Lesson 2 Tuesday, and my 4 files. Anybody have issues with that, or are you okay? Good? Issue? Click folder, yeah. COMP-1006, click on Lesson 2 folder, hit select folder. I think it is opening. I think it's hiding the. Yeah, it's likely in your toolbox. I'm not really familiar with VS Community. I don't tend to use it. Yes, Adam would definitely make your life a lot easier in this class. Yeah. VS Community is a little bit more for if you're going to code like C or C++ or Java, then VS Community is fantastic because it's still pretty lightweight. But not for web programming. It's too big. Yeah. Okay. Is your hand up? Nope. Awesome. Just clapping. Okay. All right. Yay! I can see these files. One thing I will say, a little confusing, right? Because we have like every folder we've worked on open. You guys only have 2 folders, but you can imagine what week 14 is going to look like, right? We don't necessarily need to open every single one of these folders. So I think what I'm going to do instead is go to Open Folder, drill down to my Lesson 2 folder, and just open that so that I don't have every folder open. You don't have to. If you're confused, just leave it the way you've got it. All right, ready to code some PHP? I'm ready to code some PHP. Nice. Let's start with the PHP Syntax.php file that we have there. It'll load like this. You have a bunch of headings and stuff. We're going to go through this file, and we're going to fill out each one of these sections. When we're done, this is going to provide you a cheat sheet that you can then use going forward in order to work in tests or whatever like that, but also if you just need a quick reference to a PHP thing, right? This is a great way to have those quick references. All right, I'm going to close my sidebar. I have php-syntax.php open. I'm going to close my sidebar so I have a lot more real estate to show you. I have this little mini map here that I absolutely loathe, so I'm going to close it as well. I hate the minimap. Where the heck's the thing? Oh, there it is. Nope, back. Stop. Why did you do that? You gotta race it. It's like a video game. Bam! I think I hit it. Yeah, there you go. Oh, parallels, you evil bitch. All right. Scroll down a little bit. This is just HTML, right? We've seen HTML before. And many times I will just provide the HTML to you because you guys already took an HTML course. If you forget it, go do the 1-hour W3 Schools thing and you'll remember it. Yep. Yep. Yep, because it's just showing you the folder. There's no folder. So just click select. It's because the files are not folders. It's like filtering them down so you can only see them. Oh, nope, just different syntax highlight. That's fine. I'll give you the lesson 1 file. All right. Cool thing about PHP versus other languages, though you can do it in JavaScript as well, but I will say it's not nearly as easy. PHP allows you to basically go from HTML into PHP and back out to HTML again. So you can literally move back and forth between the programming language and HTML. This means that you can write HTML and then format your HTML using, write PHP and then use HTML to format your PHP. The other side to that coin as well is you can write HTML like we did in our first week where we basically took a list and just duplicated the list really fast using PHP. You can do things like that with PHP as well. Also, we can dynamically go get data from like MySQL and bring it into our PHP file and actually display it. So the ability to mix PHP and HTML, well, to some may feel dirty, especially if you took an HTML course with Scott McCrindle, who says JavaScript, HTML, CSS, do not put these things in the same file together, right? It will feel a little weird, but it is normal. It's a very normal thing that you just have to embrace, okay? Incidentally, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, don't mix these things together. Scott doesn't code in React, so he hasn't seen the nice bastardization of those 3 things that React does, that you have to do, that you have no choice. All right, so let's do some PHP. I have something bouncing at me. Go away, iTunes. All right. Scroll down a little bit. First part's just the header for our file. This first section is what we want. PHP tags, block and inline, and commenting. Super basic pieces. How do I make PHP? That's really what this first section is. How do I tell the interpreter that this is PHP and not HTML? In order to do that, we use some tags. PHP has a few different sets that you can use, but the two that we're going to use in this class is the standard set and then the shorthand syntax set for echoing. So the first one, the one that you're going to type many, many, many times, looks like this. You have that, which is your opening PHP tag. We can even write a comment right beside it. Opening PHP tag. Notice when I wrote it, everything went into error underneath. Why do you think everything's in error right now?
We haven't closed it.
Exactly, we haven't closed it, so now the whole file thinks it's PHP and we just have a bunch of syntax errors. Let's move to the next line. We'll create a couple of lines in between and we'll write the closing statement, which is just a question mark and the greater than symbol. Now, I'm out of PHP, so I can't write a PHP comment because it won't look right. So I'll write an HTML comment instead. So PHP has a few different options for commenting. The two that we're going to cover are single line comments, right? Which we've already written one. That one with the double slashes up there. But we'll write one a little bit more normally so that you can see it. So this is a single line comment. Single line comment, good for when you just need to write a single line of commenting. Also good if you have a chunk of code that's not working properly and you want to comment it out to try to limit down what the error is. Obviously that doesn't work if you need to write like a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe you're describing what a function does, or maybe you're describing what the purpose of this class is. Not this class, like the class object class. That's a multi-line comment that we want. They look like this, /*, and then we close it with */, right? And then in the middle, we can write everything we want. This is a multi-line comment. So I have a single line comment, and I have a multi-line comment. And the good news is, that's exactly how you comment in Java. So it makes things nice and easy for you. So you may want to ask, Sean, how important is commenting? Do you deduct marks when we don't write comments? Answer to that is, it would be hypocrisy if I did that because I very rarely write comments. So no, I do not deduct marks. The only time that you may hear from me at all is if I can't tell what the heck you wrote, but that's very rare. So in that scenario, I'll just reach out to you on Slack or email and ask you. But that's extremely rare. All right. That's commenting. Any questions about commenting? Okay. Just so you're aware, is that a PHP comment? No. What kind of comment is that? Exactly, HTML. So don't confuse that. The stuff in the middle, that's PHP. All right, let's scroll down a little bit to our next section. Anybody still typing that out? I just don't want to lose anybody. All right. Variables and data types. Every one of these sections we write, we're going to write an opening and closing PHP set of brackets. So let's see if you remember how to open and close those PHP brackets. How do I create an opening PHP bracket? Yeah, lesson sign, question mark, PHP. And then a closing PHP bracket, question mark, greater than. And now I can write my PHP in the middle. Good news for you, not Java. So data types don't need to be explicitly defined when you create a variable. You don't need to say this variable is a string and therefore can only hold string values. Or this variable is a float and therefore can only hold float values. Or an integer 8, so therefore it can only hold an integer up to 8 bytes, right? You don't need to worry about any of that. The cool thing about it, it's implicit. Implicit means implied. It means when the interpreter goes through, it will evaluate the value and immediately imply the data type. So you don't need to predefine it. All you need to do is use the proper practice of writing a variable. So all variables in PHP begin with a $sign. You cannot use a number. A variable cannot begin with a number. You can have a number inside the variable, but you have to start with an alpha character. So any of the capitals or any of the lowercase letters doesn't matter, but no numbers. Pretty much applies to every programming language ever. So should be easy to remember. So why don't we create a variable called name? Okay. Now you may be like, okay, well name's not very descriptive. Maybe we want to call it full name. So let's go back and change it to full name. You're like, well, full name, you know, yes, it's one word, but I want to add another word in there. I want to add my, right? And now this is just getting silly, right? Because how do I define that those are two separated words? Let's see how well you remember variable naming. Can I do this? No, that's a big no-no. I mean, the IDE is giving it away, but can I do this? No, no spaces, not allowed, right? Can I do this? Yeah, I can totally do that. Can I do it more times? Oh yeah, I can do it as many times as I want. I can also do this, which is a common thing in PHP to define that this is a localized variable, right? It doesn't actually mean anything syntactically. It doesn't mean anything at all. It's just a convention. The common convention with naming variables in PHP is this, which is known as snake case, where you have these little underscores, right? So my underscore full name. All the words begin with lowercase letters, right? Everything is lowercase letters. Camel case is where you lose the underscore and the F would become capital, right? So it looks like a camel, it has humps, right? But PHP is lowercase. That changes when we start getting into class method names and stuff like that. There's a different convention. I honestly can say I don't care about naming conventions. Not that much. Not to a point where I would deduct marks. But I will usually write a comment back and tell you that you should try to abide by the naming convention strategy. Just because it makes it easier when you're delivering your code to another PHP programmer, they can easily follow your code if you abide by the same naming conventions, right? All right, cool. Something you cannot do in PHP. Somebody's got a click. Knock, knock. Sounds like Slack. You can't, that's probably me, actually. Where's the volume? Go away, volume. There we go. You can't do this. You can't predefine a variable and not instantiate it. You have to instantiate variables in PHP. So that means you have to give it a value. You have to assign it a value. So just make it equals. Now it comes in the fact that obviously the data type I want to use is a string, but like I said, I don't need to tell it that it needs to be a string. I just need to type a string. And you have two quote types that you're allowed to use in PHP. You can use single quotes, which is totally fine. Single quotes are quite common, right? Something also cool in PHP, you can easily rewrite the values and override whatever value was in their original. So let's do another one. My full name. Your IDE should prompt you to select it. We can use double quotes. But double quotes come with a secret power in PHP. Double quotes have a very, very cool secret power. I'll show you what the secret power is. Let's create a new variable and call it last name. And make it equal to your last name. If you don't have a last name because you're like Madonna or Cher, feel free to make one up. Maybe use Smith. Smith works. I want to take my last name and combine it with my full name. So I could use concatenation, right? You guys all know what concatenation is. What's the symbol you use in Java for concatenation? Yeah, it's a plus sign, right? PHP, unfortunately, it isn't the plus sign, which is probably one of the first things that confuses new PHP developers. It's also kind of weird because PHP is based on, like, the back end of it is C, and C uses a plus sign for concatenation, so you figure they would just adopt the C way, but they didn't. Let's type my full name equals Sean space, and let's concatenate the last name on. $, last name. So that now takes the last name and we'll combine it. Notice I put a space in here, right? Because if I don't put the space in there, what will happen is the last name and the first name will just be combined as one name, right? We need the space to split them up. Now you might be like, well, that doesn't look like magic, Sean. Concatenation is pretty standard across the board. Most languages have concatenation. I want to see the magic. What's the magic? You promised me magic. I'll show you the magic. The magic is we don't need to actually use concatenation if we're using double quotes. Double quotes support something called string interpolation. What string interpolation means is I will evaluate your string. I will also evaluate any variable you put in your string as the variable itself, not as raw text. So if you were to put $ last name in here, it will actually evaluate it, solve it, and return it back, then evaluate the rest of the string, which means it will say Sean McKinnon. And it's really simple. Just looks like that. Notice the IDE even knows that we're doing string interpolation. Now, I personally hate this. Coming from languages that support string interpolation like C++ and Ruby, Ruby's like my personal favorite language. I love Ruby. I do like JavaScript. I'm not a hater of it. I do like JavaScript. But Ruby's just elegant. Super beautiful language. Easy to read. Doesn't require commenting. Probably why I fell out of commenting. I like to write this so it doesn't look like that, so that I can tell that what I'm trying to interpret is a variable. So what I do instead is I write it like this. I put a set of curly braces in, and I write it in the middle of the curly braces. What happens when the interpreter actually reads this and actually interpolates this whole string, it will ignore these two curly braces and then print out the thing. But for a coder who's going through my code and reading, and maybe they don't have such a fancy PHP highlighter like I do, so these things aren't outlining properly, right? You can't tell that that's part of the string. This definitely tells them there's something up, right? Something's different about that particular word that I've typed in there. So now you may have the question, well, that's awesome, Sean, but what if I want to actually print the $? Like, what if I need to actually get the $? Out? What am I going to do? It's just going to interpolate every single time. Well, you can switch to single quotes, right? That's always an option. The other option you have is to escape. This backslash basically tells the interpreter to ignore any syntax rules that apply with this particular character. Escaping is a very common practice, and it's something you have to know, because escaping allows you to, use characters that would normally be interpreted as syntactical. They have syntactical meaning. Use those characters in a different format. So one of the most common things that you'll see people do that tends to be a bit of a hiccup for them is the apostrophe, right? We use apostrophe. So if I said, here's my single quotes, right? My pet's name is Murray. Notice what's happening in the IDE. The IDE is freaking out. Freaking out, man. Why is it freaking out? That's right, because to it, this isn't an apostrophe. This is a quote. And as far as it's concerned, we have finished our sentence. Our string finishes at this quote character. Everything after this is syntax errors. That's all it is. So the way to fix this is to escape this apostrophe so it doesn't get picked up as a single quote. So all you do, put your cursor in front of that and hit your backslash. And notice now, my pet's name is Murray, totally works. And I do have a pet named Murray. He's a golden retriever, and he's a jerk. Got into the garbage this morning, literally tore it all the way down the driveway. Like, you're 4. You're 4. You can make a nice golden coat. All right. No, I love him. He's got a big dopey face. I'll show you a picture of him sometime. He's adorable. All right. My pet's name is Murray. Notice I have to escape it because I'm using single quotes. And you'll constantly get this argument from people who are like, double quotes take more time to render than single quotes. Kind of true. Not exactly false. Why would you think they would take more time to render than the single quotes? Because of the interpolation. That's why. Because every double quoted string has to go through the interpolation step. What is the speed advantage of a single quote? So negligible, it's not even worth talking about. So use whatever one you feel comfortable with. What I will say is try to be consistent. That's about it. That's all I would say about that. There is one other string option that we will look at in the future. It's known as EOF. And what it basically allows you to do is you write the EOF statement at the top, and then you can literally just fire off string statement after string statement on new lines, and then close it at the end. But it's a little confusing syntax, and I find it kind of baffles people, and I don't want you to embrace it too early. That's the only thing. So for now, we'll stick with single quotes and double quotes, just for those of you that already know about EOF. I just want you to know that it does this. All right. That's strings, right? And PHP has a whole whack of string functions that allow you to do things with strings like make them all uppercase, make them all lowercase, make them capitalized. It's called UC words, and it will actually capitalize the first letter on every word. It can be treated like an array and iterate through it and actually evaluate each character, stuff like that. So it does support all those. As we get into working with data from users, which will be next week with forms, we'll be looking at strings quite intensely because everything we get back from the user from a user's form comes back as a string. Even if they wrote a number, it still comes back as a string. It's just how the HTML works between PHP and HTML forms. All right. The other data types, like I said, at the end of the day, it's implicit. It automatically knows. And this kind of threw people off on Wednesday a little bit because they were like, yeah, but you titled your value bool. Because I did. I typed it in bool like this, right? And I wrote equals true. And they were like, oh, so I have to say it's bool? Like I have to call it this in order for this to be right? And I was like, no, man. They're implicit. You can call it anything you want. You can be like Bob's bool, right? It doesn't matter. Call it Bob's Booly Drooly. It doesn't matter. It's just a variable name. The point is that the interpreter will look at true and immediately say, this is a Boolean. And then you might be like, okay, well, that's cool. But what happens if later on I have Alzheimer's and I forgot that I set it as a Boolean and I call it a number? Is it going to blow up my application? Is it going to freak out because we had already set it as a Boolean? The answer to that is PHP, it's all good. It doesn't care. It'll just be like, hey man, I was a Boolean before, but now I'm a string, so right? It doesn't care. It's not going to freak out. It totally accepts that. For lack of a better term, PHP is a slutty language. It just gets around, does what it wants to do. It does not care. Nothing affects it. It's all implicit. So obviously we have numbers, right? But there's no specific data type numbers. There's not like, if I want a decimal, I have to somehow predefine this thing as a double and then provide it its precision, right? I don't need to say this is a float, but it's going to be a 16-bit float, so I got to actually say it's 16-bit. Or it's unsigned. Oh my God, I want to use negative numbers. Now I got to say this thing's signed, right? And that guy's unsigned. And no, forget it. You just type the value. That's all you got to do. Make a variable, type a value, right? Numbers equals negative 3.14. Boom. Notice I didn't have to say it's unsigned, right? I didn't have to say anything about this variable. I just typed the value directly in. Saves you a serious amount of time, considering how many times when you write Java, you got to write the data type, you got to write whether it's static, public, private, right? All those type of things. With PHP, no man, just write your variable. Integers, right? Same idea. No difference. Integers equals 10. Want to throw a negative in front of that? Throw a negative in front of that. You want to throw 16 numbers after the 14? Some of them will get truncated. You can go ahead and do that. There is a limit, right? There is a bite-sized limit to how much a variable can actually hold. And that is something that you may come across if you're building like a banking application where you have to keep track of large scale numbers. But it's not something we're going to hit in this class. Just be aware of it. All languages hit a bite-sized limit on a variable value size. There's also libraries that help make that a little bit easier to deal with. All right. That's variables in a nutshell. Any questions about variables before we move forward? No? Pretty easy? Yeah? All right. So, data types. We talked about data types. This is a big one, printing to the screen, right? Alt-Z. Alt-Z. There we go. Word wrap. Very handy. Printing to the screen, concatenation, quotes, and interpolation. Well, we kind of covered all that above. However, printing to the screen, that's something that's super important. Because we are doing HTML, PHP, and HTML, PHP, HTML, PHP, and we're interlacing these things, if we want PHP to actually output something to the screen, so I create a paragraph tag, and now I want to take some PHP value and actually spit it out to the screen for the client to see, I have to actually use one of the many different ways to actually print the statement out to the screen. There is print that does exist. We don't generally use print in PHP though. We use a statement called echo, and echo allows you to print to the screen. Out of curiosity, anybody ever coded in Bash in Linux? No? Echo comes from that, actually. Echo is the same keyword they use in Bash. So if you wanted to echo out a value in Bash Linux, you can use echo. You guys get an option to take a Linux class. I recommend taking it in your fourth semester. So let's do some echoes. Echo's super easy, right? Need some PHP. And we're going to write our PHP just a little bit different this time. Instead of putting the tags on separate lines, I'm actually going to put them on the same line. And you can do that. It doesn't cause any errors. You can save right now, open this file, and you would not get an error. It's totally fine. The interpreter will just hit this line and go, oh, cool. I don't have to do anything. And then just continue on. But we're going to make it do something. We're going to echo out something, right? So echo is a function. And it takes one argument. You have to give it an argument. And it can be a string. It can be a singular level value. That's the easiest way to think of this. You can do one level values. So you can't dump an array in there because it will freak out. But you can give it a string. You can give it a Boolean. You can give it a number. Those things it will echo and print to the screen. Those are fine. Just no arrays. So hello world, right? And I mean, we should probably look at this just to make sure our Apache server's working and everything's nice and golden, right? We can go look at this. Open up your internet browser, create a new tab, go to localhost/COMP-1006. And when you go there, you'll see a list of your directories, right? You only have two. You have lesson 1 and lesson 2. So obviously click on the lesson 2 one. And right now you're not going to see anything because the index page is blank. And that's the one it's interpreting. Apache's kind of neat. When you go to just a slash, Apache's like, yeah, I got you. I know exactly what file you want. You want index.php. Or you want index.html or index.htm. But it knows that it's the index file that you're attempting to load. So it auto-loads it. So going to a blank slash is the equivalence to going to /index.html or index.php. But we don't want this. We want our PHP syntax file. So I'm going to add that at the end. php-syntax.php. And I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see that is not the zoom in button. Why do I keep forgetting that? There we go. There's our hello world that we echoed out to the screen right there, right? Why don't we beef it up a little, right? We can actually, like I said, we can interlace PHP and HTML all in one go. In fact, we're already doing that. That hello world appeared under this heading of decision structure, right? Which means it's totally in the wrong place because we are definitely not in the decision structure section. So we can move this up. So I'm going to take it, hit Control, not Command, hit Control X, and put it in the right location, which is under here, so that it makes sense. There we go. Now the interesting thing about echo is as it echoes things out to the screen, it will do it inline, right? So if I put something above it, and write hello above it, like this, right? You would think it would go hello, and then the next line, it would go hello world, right? Just out of curiosity, how many of you think it's going to go hello on one line and hello on the next line? None of you, because you're all smart people. So jump over to Chrome, hit refresh, and sure enough, it just shoves everything in one line. Echo is not going to do anything preemptively for you. Yeah. Your HTML is not working or PHP is not? Because you're not under the right lesson. So first of all, let's. Now do PHP. Yeah. Printing the header. It should print both. You should get hello and hello world. Is that what you're getting? Oh, if you take echo out, it will still say that? Is that what you're asking? I'm sorry, man. What are you saying? No, because so this is just standard HTML. The equivalence to you just writing hello in an HTML document. Same idea. Yeah. You have a syntax error. Unexpected end of file, expecting a variable. So I'm guessing you didn't close it with the question mark. Maybe it's something up further. What line did it say it was on? 83. Okay, jump back. 83 is further down. Yeah, and so it's interpreting to that point and then like collapsing. So scroll up. Let me see your PHP that you wrote last. Stop there. Scroll down a bit. You're missing your quote character. Yeah, you got an error as well? You're on COMP-1006 PHP because you don't have to do it. 6. We have a lesson one. So wherever you're typing this out, so you were under. It's like it's delivering let's see that. We're going to take a break in 2 seconds here anyways. All right, just before we actually take a break, just so I can help resolve some of the issues people are having, let's just add a paragraph just to show you that you can interlace HTML and PHP together. So in your IDE, this tag above here is just hello. It's just raw text inside your HTML, right? And we can wrap that in a paragraph tag, which shouldn't seem new, right? That's pretty old school. You guys are probably used to that. But you can also wrap a paragraph tag around the PHP. And the way we do that, you can do it in 2 different ways. You can put your cursor in here and write HTML directly in there. So we'll write a strong tag around the hello world. And interestingly enough, that will actually get interpreted as strong tags and not spit them out as raw text. And then if I want to wrap the whole thing in HTML, I can write a p tag there, and the closing p tag there, and it totally works. I have PHP and I have HTML, and they're all interlaced together, and they work together. Now if you jump back to your browser, hit Control-R to refresh, you can see we have this hello world nicely bolded. And this is probably new to you, but you can right-click on it and choose to inspect it. And you can see that when it got interpreted, all of our PHP is gone, and all we see is the raw HTML text being spit out. That's it, and our source code. I'll show you that one more time so you know how to get there. You can right-click on an element and choose to inspect, and it will open up this little inspect bar on the right. All right, let's take a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back to the rest of the little bit that we're going to cover. Probably just decision structures, arrays, and hashes, and then we'll probably call it a night. And I will come around and help those who are having an issue. Yeah, so let's do that. 10 minutes.